We're doing, everybody. Domby Gunreach here. Who-Bangin Sports Talk. Back with another video. This one's going to be on the wild card weekend. We got some trends for you. Our trends, your friend. We're going to find out. Some of these were a little surprising. Some are outright shocking. That's why I decided to do this video. We're going to start off with some general stuff. 6 games of the wild card weekend. Well, including Monday, right? Saturday, Sunday, Monday. All games are outdoors. And we could have some weather issues. At the last report, some wind, some snow might be happening in Chicago. And as we know, when you're capping this weather, really the wind is the main thing. More so than snow, more so than cold, rain. The wind is really a key. So that's something I look for a lot. When I cap baseball, it's 15 miles an hour or more. That's when I really pay attention. So just something to keep in mind, something to keep in the back of your mind when it comes to the weather. Anyhow, the first trend correlates with that. It's and it goes about totals. And you know me, I love to play my totals. When the total is 41 or more in the wild card games and they're outdoor, the under has covered surprisingly 68% of the time, dating all the way back to 2004. So that's a pretty good sample size, 21 years. 41 or more. The under is covering 68% of the time. Keep that in mind. Like I said, we have a lot of outdoor games. There is any games 41 or less right now is just one, the Texans and the Steelers. Right now it's at 38. And that under 38 is getting hammered in the betting splits. Matter of fact, 73% of the bets, 98% of the handle is on the under 38 in the Pittsburgh game. So something else to keep in mind. Now, these splits that I talk about, they get updated every 5 minutes on the site that I use. So I also have DraftKings too, but DraftKings is a lot of the splits are pretty much more even, more public type of thing. I like using Circa's. Circa's, a real sharp book on the level of Pinnacle, like I mentioned before in some other videos. Okay. Next one up is about first-time quarterbacks, and we have 3 of them. We have Young, we have May, and we have Williams in this wild card weekend. First-time quarterbacks, as in general, since 2014, they're 13-25 straight up. They're 15-23 against the spread. If you back it up to 2003. These first-time quarterbacks in the playoffs are only covering 36% of the time. First-time quarterbacks as a dog, and that's Williams and Young. This pertains to since 2006, 10-27 straight up, 14-22-1 ATS. So it doesn't get better for the first-time QBs as dogs. Here's one that gets a little bit more deep into the first-time quarterbacks when they're in the playoffs for the first time, playing quarterbacks with playoff experience. For instance, again, a bunch of games. The Bears game, the Panthers game, the Patriots game. When the first-time quarterback is playing the quarterback with playoff experience, 20-40 straight up, 20-39-1 ATS, going all the way back to 2002. So these trends are really big sample sizes. So they're not just, things that just happen fly by night. Like I know a lot of trends, and you got to keep that in mind, are just coincidental type of stuff. But some, maybe aren't. And experience means a lot in these playoffs. And there is a lot of that in this wild card, really throughout the playoffs is inexperienced teams and quarterbacks and coaches playing ones that aren't that are experienced, I should say, that aren't inexperienced. Another trend I got for you is when first timers are at home and are double-digit dogs, which is only one of them. Only one game out of 18 since 2011 have they covered, or have they won? Not covered, but have they won? But if you look at that trend over plus 10 or better over the last 14 years, this has held up. So 1 out of 18 games since 2011 have gone against has not won the game. So that's something that again could be is the Panthers. Another first-time quarterback as a dog versus experienced quarterbacks that are in the playoffs, like the last example, 21-46 straight up, 23-43 ATS. That's 35% cover rate since 2004. First-time quarterbacks as a dog versus experienced quarterbacks in the playoffs. Road teams in all of the playoffs, when they outscore their offenses by an average of 4 points per game in the regular season, so they are the better team on paper offensively. Since 2004, they're only 3-13 straight up and 4-11-1 ATS. And this trend held up last year when the Bills were in that final game with the Bills, where they didn't win. They were the better offensive team and did not win. So that trend held up even last year. Another one that we got for you is teams who played their last games on the road, and then they're on the playoffs on the road. So back-to-back on the road, which is the Green Bay Packers. Since 2015, they've only covered 34% of the time. So that trend pertains only to the Packers. Last, back-to-back games on the road, meaning the last game of the season on the road and then the playoffs on the road, 34% cover. Team in its first playoff game in 2 years or better, so they haven't been in the playoffs for 2 years or more, versus a team that was in the playoffs last year. The team who played in the game last year has the upper hand. The team who hasn't been in the playoffs in 2 years or more, 17-28 straight up, 14-31 ATS. That's a company's trends are going to could very well come into play. Now let's talk about some of these teams that correlate to these trends. The Panthers, like we said, the 1-17 since 2011, if they're a double-digit dog. Well, the Panthers this year, they lost their last game after a straight-up loss. They are 8-0 ATS. They've actually covered the spread in those 8 games by over 10 points, 10.4 point average. The other side of that is teams with bad point differentials are only winning. The winning was in the 22 23%, and the cover was I don't even think it hit 30%. I don't have that. I forgot written it down, but I think it was 28 or 29%. But just know that they do very bad when they have a bad point differential. The Panthers are the worst in this year's playoffs. They have a -69. They also have a bad turnover bad turnover differential. They have a bad point and a bad turnover. 10 times this year, I went over the whole season. I went over every game. 10 out of the 18 games, out of the 17 games that they played, they scored 17 points or less in 10 of those games, the Panthers. So I think they're in trouble against this Rams team. I don't know. I see a big split going towards the points and the Panthers. I don't really see it. I think the Rams are going to come in there and make a statement in this game on Saturday at Circa. The spread finally went up to 10.5. Now, 3 or 4 times during the week, I believe it was 3 times since Tuesday. It hit 10.5. Immediately got bet back down to 10. Now, about an hour ago, it was at 10. Right before it came on air, it went to 10.5 at Circa. So, just a comparison. At DraftKings, the Panthers are getting 51% of the handle, 62% of the bets. The Rams are getting 38% of the bets, 49% of the handle. So the public is hitting the Rams a little bit more as far as bets compared to ticket handle. That handle is a little bit higher. But the real key here is the Circa splits. That Circa splits on that 10.5, and it was more prevalent last night at 10. The -10.5, 61% of the bets are on the -10.5 in the Rams, with only 20% of the handle. The sharps, the the big bettors, the big money seems to be sticking with the Panthers. Not that I don't agree with it, just because it's a pro bet, a sharp bet. That doesn't make me want to bet something more or less than I was going to. I don't really put 100% stock into anything like that. Betting splits, yes, they mean a lot, but doesn't mean that that's how you bet. If that was so easy that you just bet the splits, we'd all be rich, right? But the Panthers, 39% of the bets, 80% of the handle. The under is getting hit. It's at 46. 48% of the bets, 66% of the handle towards the under. Matter of fact, every game I'm looking at here, the Bears, the under, 45, 86% of the handle, 67% of the bets. The Jaguars, the under, 51.5, 64% of the handle, 52% of the bets. The Eagle game, under, 44.5, 77% of the bets at circa, 84% of the money. So a lot of money is coming in on that under in the Eagle game. The Patriots game, 45.5. The over, the only game the over is getting hit, 60% of the bets, 83% of the handle. So only 17% of the handle is on the under 45.5. And then on the last game, like I mentioned before, 98% of the handle on the under 38 in that game, 73% of the bets. So that's pretty interesting on the Texans and the Steelers. Here is and we got to make this quick. We'll be done we're going to do this quick and be done with it. Here's the craziest stat that I've heard, the craziest trend that I heard. I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but I have. Before I get to that, a quick one. I just remembered 52.5 total or higher in the playoffs. Total playoffs. 15-7 to the under the last since 2014, I believe. 15-7 to the under. So the 52.5 seems to be high in these playoff games in general. Okay, here's the crazy trend, and it has to do with the Steelers. Now, a lot of us know about the Steelers and the Monday night thing and Tomlin and home games in Pittsburgh, 23 straight wins. It's amazing how they play on a Monday night. Pittsburgh is a team that, if you looked at this year, especially, I mean, you could go back, I guess, a couple of years, but if you look at this year especially, they play really good against the good teams and lose against the bad teams. When they're a favorite, Pittsburgh, watch it, because you're in trouble when they're a favorite against one of the worst teams in the league. They might win the game. They don't seem to cover much at all. They have a terrible record. I had it written down somewhere, but Tomlin has a terrible record as a favorite, especially a favorite on the road. But here's the Rodgers. Besides the 23 straight wins, Aaron Rodgers himself on Monday night is a 12-2 record, winning. So he likes to play on the Monday nights. Here is the big reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers have not have baseball on my mind already. Have the Steelers have not done well in the playoffs, and here's the reason why. When I heard this, I even rewound it. And it was on TV. I heard it. It was on VSiN, as a matter of fact, the VSiN Sports Network, where I get a lot of my information. Great channel to watch for if you're a handicapper and you're really into to the sports betting like we are. I couldn't believe they said this. The Pittsburgh Steelers in 16 playoff games have been outscored 73-0. They have not scored a point in the first quarter in 16 playoff games. I just feel like it's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. I've never heard that one before. We've all heard about the streak on Monday nights and all that. I've never heard that one before. They one of the games was that game a few years ago, maybe even a little bit more than a few years ago. Flacco was quarterback on the Browns in that game. The Browns came out early in that playoff game and outscored the Steelers 28-0. So 28 points out of that 73 was in one game, but still they have not scored. Now, another thing about the Steelers, they don't score 7 or more even during the regular season. Now, I heard again that sometimes you think you hear things and you double check, and I didn't double check this one, but I heard this trend of 69 games that straight that the Steelers have not scored 7 or more in the first quarter. But what I did was right before I came on, I went over every game this year that the Steelers played. I went over every box score. They did not have more than 7 points in any game this year. More than 7 points, 7 or less. They had 7, 5 to 6 times. They had 0 a bunch of times. They had 3 points a bunch of times. In 17 games this year, not once did they go over 7. So keep that in mind. This Pittsburgh game, I have this little weird feeling about Pittsburgh. I'm not a big Texans guy. I'm worried about the offense, and I worry about experience. Yes, that defense can win a game out on their own, but we did talk about how the Texans don't really score much. They're average. They're around 17 points a game. They just haven't played. Offensively, they got issues. We'll see what happens in this game. I lean towards Pittsburgh in that little upset, but the +3 I took the +3. So that's that. So that's really what I got for you. We got some good games. Now the games tomorrow, we got the Rams against the Panthers. I didn't touch that game. I just left it alone. If anything, maybe you could tease the Rams down. I don't like the Panthers in that game at all. I'm afraid to tease the Panthers up because either they're going to cover the 10 or they're going to get blown out. They're going to lose by 20, 25 points. I don't think it's going to be a game like tonight we had in the Oregon game against Indiana, but I do think the Rams got potential to really blow out the Carolina Panthers, who, like I mentioned before, with their point differential at -69, their luck factor number must be high as hell. They got here. There's a little bit lucky. I mean, listen, nobody was picking the Panthers to win a division, were they? 4 or 5 weeks ago, or even 3 weeks ago. I mean, so that's something about that. The other game is the Bears. The Bears have been that fourth quarter comeback kids. The Packers have not played well since Parsons got hurt. I don't know. Love didn't practice. He's been sick. I don't think he practiced the last couple of days. I know he didn't practice a couple of days this week. I don't know if he practiced today. I don't think he practiced yesterday or Wednesday. I think the Packers could be in trouble. Now, if the Packers win, they could go on a roll, but I like the Bears in this game. I took the Bears. And my favorite bet is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know it seems to be getting a little bit more of a popular pick. I just think they have a chance to really do some damage in this game. I think they're being overlooked. As far as the betting splits are concerned at Circa, it's now a pick 'em. And that spread when it was +1, -1, pick, +1.5. It was jumping around, never went past 1.5 in either direction for the Bills or the Jaguars. But as far as the betting handle is, 41% of the bets, only 11% of the handle is on the Bills on a pick 'em. 89% of the handle is on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's at Circa. Let me just check quick. DraftKings has on that game, the Jaguars. They have 50% of the bets, 46% of the handle on the Bills, but DraftKings has the Bills +1.5 now. So in the last 5 minutes, it changed again. Like I said, the splits I look at, they update every 5 minutes. DraftKings got Jacksonville -1.5, getting 54% of the handle. They got Buffalo +1.5, getting 46% of the handle. So take a look at that one. And just while I have it quick for tomorrow's game, the Rams on DraftKings, 48% of the handle at -10.5. Leaning again, the public and DraftKings is more of the public, more of us guys, playing DraftKings. I'm not a big DraftKings guy. I think their lines are usually the worst. I do like Bet Rivers. I do like Bet MGM. DraftKings I always use it for comparison, and sometimes their team total numbers are good. And they do have the first half team total numbers, which I like. But again, sometimes DraftKings, FanDuel, you got to be watched with the points in there. But anyhow, They got the Panthers 52% of the handle, so they got a little bit more money coming on the Panthers. And with the Packers-Bears game, they got the Bears favored 61% of the handle, 69% of the bets. With the at plus 1.5, the Packers are now minus 1.5, only 31% of the bets, 39% of the handle. So that's what we got. I hope some of these trends, help you out. Be careful with these first-time quarterbacks. Take in consideration these with experience and not. But I say that I'm not really. On some games I'm taking heed to that, and I mentioned two games that I'm not. That's the Bears and that's the Jacksonville. So that's what I got for you tonight. Hope you guys have a good wild card weekend. We'll be back Sunday, myself and DJ Big Boss, with our college basketball Who-Bangin Hoops. We've been having a pretty good run on college basketball. Every day, our picks are on the members page, Who-Bangin Sports Talk, $4.99 a month. We got Dylan with the Rink Report, the NHL. We have our boy Ix Nizzle starting the live sweat soon. We'll have some NBA action starting up. So we're at UFC has a couple of weeks off. So the guys will be getting back into that. So keep your eye on Who-Bangin Sports Talk for that. Anyway, hope everybody has a profitable wild card weekend. And we will see you Sunday morning, 11 a.m. for Who-Bangin Hoops. Tommy Gunn Ricci here for Who-Bangin Sports Talk. Have a good night.